Okay, the houses. Let's talk about these weird divisions in the sky. There's this perennial, never ending discussion in the astroworld. Sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's weaker, but it never dies. About which house system is the best. And I'm not going to tell you that because this discussion is boring. But I'm mentioning it because most of the people engaged in this discussion don't really know what a house is. So they don't really know what a house division is. So they're just talking, they're just fighting words with words. And I'm going to explain the houses to you in a very simple way so you can be more informed than any of them. I taught a course on these, on the celestial model of the traditional model of the cosmos, how the ancients saw the universe and how it was organized. And I won't be able to summarize it in one video, but this explanation does not require all the things I spoke about in the course. So to make it easier, to make it not only easier but clearer, I just mentioned this ancient model from which astrology derives, and this model has many spheres, one encompassing the other, and we're going to forget about that. For this video, you pretend those don't exist. We're going to use a model, a very simple model, consisting of two things. First, you probably know that there seems to be a giant sphere that runs, that turns over us in a regular, constant motion, dragging around, dragging with it small, shiny dots. And this is called the sky. And we're going to assume for now that this thing that seems to be a giant sphere is a giant sphere. Okay? So this giant sphere turns around us, completing its regular motion in around 24 hours every day. There are many shiny dots which sometimes are visible to us and sometimes they are not, partly because, and I'm going to talk about that later, the land where we are hides them, sometimes because the light of the sun hides them. But it's not difficult for you to understand that they are always there. Most of these shiny dots seem to be fixed, seem to be out there, painted in the sky, as it were. If you are an astronomer or someone with patience and you observe and note down the positions of these stars along the years, you're going to notice that they are not really exactly fixed, but they are so slow. And most of the motion is so uniform that we might consider them as fixed for now. These are what astrology calls the fixed stars. Almost every shiny dot in that sphere is like that, except for 7. There are 7 bodies, 5 of them also shiny dots, 2 of them disks One of them very bright that will burn your eyes if you look at it. The other almost as, no, not almost as bright, but also very bright, but not as bright as the first one, but with a changing nature. It changes its own shape over time. These are the wandering stars: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. These are the wandering stars, or the planets in the astrological sense. These seven wandering bodies, they move according to, in relation to this sphere, to this ball. It's like all the other stars are painted on it. And these seven are like tiny ants. Okay, five tiny ants and two June bugs moving on it a bit every day in their own rhythm, in their own pace. They do not move at the same speed. Each of the seven has a different motion. But they all have, besides being movable, not fixed, they have another thing in common. They don't walk, they don't move everywhere in the sky. The motion is not random or free in this sphere. They move around a belt in this sphere. This belt is what we call the zodiac. The sun moves right in the middle of this belt, along a great circle called ecliptic. The other six move along this circle, but not exactly on it. So they have some latitude in relation to the ecliptic, but they are always around, in with very rare exceptions, in this belt called the zodiac. If we divide the zodiac in 12 equal pieces, Western people usually begin this division in a point called the vernal equinox, which is a fancy name for the point where the sun is at the beginning of the spring in northern hemisphere and of fall in the southern hemisphere. Indians usually divide it a bit differently. The most common division is to start by the point opposite to the star Spica Virginis, the Virgin's spike, a star in the constellation of the Virgo. But both of them divide this belt in 12 equal pieces, 12 equal rectangles. Each of these small square-like celestial thingies is a sign. A sign is that. I'm not saying what a sign means. I'm not trying to do an interpretation of signs, but that's what the signs are. A small sector of the visual celestial space. Right? We extrapolate it a bit because while the planets are always within the zodiac, not all these shiny dots we see in the sky fall into this belt. We see stars all around in the sky. So we project them onto the ecliptic, onto that great circle onto which the sun moves and which is in the middle of the zodiac, to determine where the star is, sorry, and to make sure we can say, in a sense, that that star is in a sign. For example, Canopus, a very bright but star, but very far from the zodiac. It's in Cancer, but it is not within that square-like thing I have just described it. It's outside it. We project it onto the ecliptic and note that, oh, its projection falls into this bit of the zodiac which we call Cancer. So this is what the signs are. We can also extrapolate them to cover more of the sky, but that's the most strict definition of a sign and of the zodiac. The thing is, if you have been paying attention, the planets move within this thing in relation to the sky, right? So if you take, I don't know, the area I have just described, this zodiac I have just described, you look at Capricorn. And sometimes there will be planets inside this small square, small rectangle. Sometimes there won't. You look at the chart in the screen and you see there are planets in Capricorn. Sometimes there are no planets in Capricorn. But this is so regardless of anything else, regardless of where you are, where I am. There is either planets in Capricorn or no, or not. Now, at the moment I am speaking, the Sun and the Moon are in Taurus. They are in Taurus for me, they are in Taurus for you, they are in Taurus for anyone else watching this video anywhere in the world. That's why I'm going to introduce the second part of this model. We have the sky, right? I just described the sky, this giant sphere that turns on itself with this regular motion that finishes more or less at every 24 hours, and we have that small, that not small, that belt around it onto which the planets move, and we divide it in 12. Each one of these divisions is a sign. Great? But if you look at the sky now, you can either see the sun or you cannot. And that depends on where you are. Now, where I am, it's night, so the sun is not visible. But maybe where you are, the sun is still visible. We all know that. But the sun is at the same spot in the sky for everyone. But we are not at the same spot on the second thing I'm going to introduce, the Earth. Within this giant sphere, imagine a very smaller ball. Way smaller. Small enough that its radius, its diameter, is almost negligible compared to the sky, compared to the sky's diameter. Its center is the same center as the sky, but it's way smaller. But there are even smaller things, living things, on it, on the surface, us. And because this thing is much smaller than the sky, but we are much smaller than this thing, it can block the sky from us. Not the whole sky, but parts of it. Which means We see the sky according to where we are. I don't see the sun now. You might see the sun at the same moment now. And even if we both don't see the sun, the sky over my head is not the same as the sky over your head. So, although the sky is the same, the sky related to people is unique. I see a very particular configuration of the sky due to where I am. And how do I see the sky? Unless I am at the poles, and I'm not going to discuss the poles, what I see is, I see the sky rising at a point. All the time. It always rises at the same direction on the horizon. And it moves up and westward until it passes over my head. And then it goes downward, and then it disappears on the west horizon. But it keeps on moving, although I don't see it. But I know it because the same things are going to rise later, the next day, in the eastern horizon. So it passes below me and rises in the east again. So while, again, the sky is the same, it appears to me according to not my position on the earth and my orientation. It rises in the east, it culminates over my head, it sets in the west, and it goes lower, below my feet. So there seem to be 4 natural divisions of the sky, according to me. A quadrant, or a part of it, between the eastern horizon and the top of my head. Another between the top of my head and the west horizon. A third one that I don't see, but I know it exists, between this west horizon and the point below my feet. And the fourth one between my feet and the east horizon. It's not exactly that, but the east horizon is linked to the ascendant. The point on top of my head is connected, is related to the mid-heaven. And you know the rest. Descendant, bottom of the chart, or Imo Celli. And this is the basis for the division between the division of the sky in houses. This is the thing in reality, in nature, on which the houses are based. So, at least in theory, or at least not in theory, at least in principle, the house system begins with the division of 4 quadrants of what is in front of me and above me, of what is behind me and above me, of what is below me and behind me, and what is below me and in front of me, or what is above and east, above and west, below and east. And why is this division natural? Because first, it derives from obvious directions of myself, east, west, north, and south, and above and below. Also because the sky moves like that. I'm not dividing it and then the sky goes this way and that way. That's how the sky moves. Okay? I'm not going to hurt anyone's feelings. That's how the sky seems to move. And most of the house divisions are divisions of these quadrants. I'm not going to enter into technical details here. If you want me to do, just comment below and I'll do a video on that. But most of the houses are just divisions of these four first divisions of the sky as relating to how I see it, how I experience it. So they are in nature, in essence, much different from the signs. I'm not saying you cannot use whole sign houses or equal houses, or I'm not saying quadrant houses are the best for A, B, C, or D levels of astrology. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just telling you where are the houses and where are the signs, and that they are fundamentally different things. That's why the signs qualify the planets, because they are divisions in this sphere that doesn't care about us. Okay, this sentence is a bit too dramatic, but it highlights the difference between the celestial way of looking at the sky and the terrestrial or mundane way of looking at the sky. Because the houses really do care about me, because they move when I move. If I go that direction, my point above my head, I don't want to use technical terms, moves with me, and my east horizon moves with me. So the houses are mine, while the signs are of the sky. By definition, by principle, by their own essence. That's it. I hope you like it. And if you don't, or if you have any doubts, please comment below.